Hara-Kiri, Death of a Samurai, follows the story of a samurai who arrives at the doorstep of a feudal lord, requesting an honorable death by suicide. The lord threatens him with a brutal tale of Motome, a young ronin who made a similar request, but with no intention of committing to the suicide, only to meet a grisly end. Undaunted, the samurai begins to tell the story of his own, the ending no one could see coming. The film explores honor, revenge, and for the samurai, what a time of peace means for them. In this video, I will be analyzing the film's relationship to reality, including a summary of the conflict depicted by the film. I'll be giving a critical reflection and insight into the film's message about war, and giving a description of the companion reading that I've chosen, and discussing how the reading influenced my thinking about the film. The film is set in feudal Japan during the Age of Peace, where the samurai's skills were not needed as readily as before. During this time, samurai houses still upheld a strict law of honor. Those who felt they were dishonorable to gain back their honor committed ritual suicide. During the film, we find out that the ronin did not actually want to commit suicide. Instead, he sought pity from the lord of the house. He was doing something that was depicted in the film as a suicide bluff, where certain samurai goes to lords' houses, say they are committing suicide, but with no intention of actually committing suicide, and seeking the pity of the lords. But this house sought to set an example, making the ronin commit. But we don't see until much later in the film the true desperation of what he was doing and why he was doing it. To get money for his sick wife and child. The father-in-law finds out, and sets out to seek revenge for what has been done. He told the story to the house, but they brushed it off, stating that they did what they could to fulfill his request. This filled him with anger, and started to question the very foundation of the samurai way. The strict rules that were followed, throwing away humanity in place of honor. How far during this time of peace the samurai had fallen in skill, becoming less adept at combat, and more focused on the ways of the samurai, where swords and armor become decorative pieces. He fought all samurai in the house, none being able to kill him, fighting them all off with a wooden sword, showing that none are skilled in the entire house. He fought until he reached the armor of the lord, set up on a stand. He pushed the armor down, stating, "A warrior's honor is not something simply worn for show," before he let the samurai kill him. His revenge wasn't about killing, like most other revenge stories, rather proving a point that during this time of peace, if you are not favored by the shogun, you may become ronin and poor, and that this time of peace was lowering the ability of the samurai, being just for show and decorative, and that Bushido rules of the samurai blinded people of humanity in place of honor, not caring about the life one has lived and the hardship he has undertaken, but only caring about their rules. In the end, in the final scene, we see how much the Lord really cares, when he returns only caring if the armor has been polished. As they say that the armor is the pride of the house, the Lord says, "Quiet," and they all bow, showing how little the Lord cares. The companion reading I've chosen is Samurai and Ninja, the real story behind the Japanese warrior myth that shatters the Bushido mystique, which tells about samurai and shinobi, and how they lived with the rules they followed. Ranks, skills, weapons and armor, how they committed suicide, how they showed off their kills after a battle, their forts and castles and defensive positions, and important events and people during the time. Reading this changed how I looked at the film and helped me more understand the times of what was happening. One of these understandings was finding out that the time of peace was provided through a feudal dictatorship and true power was held by the shogun. This also told me that during this time there was less of an importance of combat, and armor and swords became decorative, which was one of the main points by Henshiro. Also, the honor that the samurai speak of in the film is whatever the Lord deems honorable, so they must follow whatever the Lord says is honorable, and not care about whether what is right or wrong or humane. One other major thing that some or most ritual suicides may have been forced by the Lord and House upon victims. There are even countermeasures placed during the ritual, such as the second standing behind the victim to ensure they commit and do not attack or try to escape. This is also heavily seen in the film, as the house forces the Ronin Motome to commit to the suicide even though he did not want to, and forces him to, brutally, with a wooden sword. Thank you for watching this video.